It's the lead play in our offense. We ask our YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet, get an isolation with the linebacker. Tell the tackle to take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. You look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here and try to run this play in the alley.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. I'm joined alongside Tim, live in Green Bay, just here to talk a little Packers this evening. Still no news on the coaching front. Obviously, everybody's kind of waiting for that to drop. Man, it could happen any second, with more interviews and possibly a hire. It could happen 2 weeks from now. So we really don't know. We've also got some football going on this week, believe it or not. Some people are going, what are you talking about? But we'll dive into it. We've got the East-West Shrine game, and then obviously we got the Reese's Senior Bowl. So if you guys want a little football, and obviously it's not going to be like, I don't want to say it's not highly competitive, but it is what it is, right? Those guys they're out there competing in front of scouts and all that good stuff to try to get drafted. But at the same time, it's not quite the same type of competition, if you will. Really, you want to keep your ear to the practice reports just about as much as anything. Sometimes people who shine during the practice week, they're the ones who really garner the most attention. There's been several former Packer players, right, who have obviously shown off and showed out there at the Senior Bowl or the East-West Shrine game, and it kind of puts them on the map. I remember one year, if I remember correctly, Geronimo Allison was one. And then all of a sudden, he burst on the scene with the Packers, I think the very following year, and he actually contributed. He made quite a bit of difference on the field. Now, he didn't go on to have a great pro career, but that's just one example of a lower-tier guy. But there's several other people that we'll mention that Dane Brugler has put out there in the past that Matt Schneidman was tweeting about as well. And I know we got several people here in the chat. First of all, Brent in Indiana, thank you for the super sticker, buddy. We really appreciate you supporting the stream. Jake Shavink says, it's Senior Bowl week. Posse, let's go. We're fired up about it, Jake. Got some football this week, man. I think the NFL, and I guess you could include college football into this, but mainly the NFL, they do a great job keeping content year-round. Like the way this is spread out, right? You got East-West Shrine, you get the Senior Bowl, and then obviously you're going to step into a week off, I think the Pro Bowl actually, right? And then the Super Bowl. They do the Pro Bowl in between, which whatever the Pro Bowl is.
Whatever the Pro Bowl means or is anymore.
Out there slapping each other on the keister, right? But anyway, you'll have the Super Bowl, and then you're going to have the Combine coming up pretty quick. You'll have free agency kicking off. Oh, by the way, the USFL and the XFL have merged, so we're going to have Spring Ball, which
the
would be
UFL. I love it.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Is that what it's called? The UFL is what they? Is that what
I believe it? Yeah, United Football League. Yeah,
got it. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, we're going to keep an eye on the chat. Let's see here. I'll tell you what, I'll post this one right now so Jake can answer you in the chat. He would be the one to ask this question to. Magic One says, Clayton, are there any type of Bettis running backs in this draft? In the draft, we can never get that 3rd and 1 yard.
I love the question. Any Bettis types. Shout out to Jerome the Bus Bettis.
Yeah, one of my favorite players growing up, man. He was awesome. So Jake Shavink might be able to answer that for you. He's not quite the size of the bus, but someone who went to the same college as Jerome Bettis and he runs hard is one of my favorites is Audric Estime. I love that dude.
Yeah.
Absolutely love him as a runner. But again, you guys seen Sam Hartman in my mock draft later, so you know how that goes, right? So
while we're waiting for Jake to reply, can I get a little plug-in for Packernet here? We got the QR code up in the upper right. Jake Shavink dropped a podcast today, Senior Bowl Superlatives. Make sure you check it out. You can scan that QR code in the upper right, and it'll take you to Always Draft Season. It's always draft season with Jake Shavink, and he's kind of the go-to, at least from my perspective. Maybe it's a little being a homer here, but if you need to know what the latest is, you got to go check out Jake Shavink. So part of the Packernet crew, you can scan that QR code upper right hand corner. It'll take you to the flagship. You can check out Ryan Schlipp's pod there and Jake Shavink too. It's always draft season. Always good information there. It's funny, I'm plugging them and I didn't even get a chance to listen yet. But it was uploaded today, a good solid hour. So make sure you check Jake out for sure.
Definitely. Always good contact with the It's Always Draft Season podcast. There's no doubt about that. And we're gonna muscle Jake in here a time or 12 too before the draft. I promise you that. Try not to bug him.
The chat, Donald Krieger. This is Jake's season.
Absolutely, man. You got it. You know it. Let's see. Jake Shavik chimed in and said, Benson, Estime. Oh my God, Estime. And Allen, are you big boys? Are you big guys? Love it. Absolutely love it. Let's go here. Yeah, Andy in the chat said something too. He said, any free agents you guys would want. I think a safety makes so much sense while still drafting one. I'll do you one better, Andy. I think a safety or two makes sense at a good price, and you still draft two, right? Like that's how bare that safety room is as it sits right now. So just to kind of do a quick recap, we did an exercise the other night, Andy. I'm sure you probably wasn't in here, but the free agents that really caught our attention, and mainly because of their market price, is linebacker Bobby Wagner at roughly $4 million. He took a little bit of a step back from that elite performance he had the year before with the Rams, but still his passer rating when targeted was 81.0, much better than one starting linebacker on our current roster that was 155.0 that will remain nameless. Now, I don't want to dog on anybody too hard, but it is what it is. So Bobby Wagner really piqued my interest. I would like to see it be Quay Walker, Bobby Wagner, Devondre Campbell, Isaiah McDuffie, right? Those four, and then possibly draft one too. Maybe draft the future linebacker. And then if it doesn't work out with Campbell, maybe you move on, what have you. But that's one of them that caught our attention. Now, as far as safety, we had two safeties on our radar. One is Geno Stone, who was in Baltimore last year, right? His PFF grade, he was let's see if I remember correctly, he was the fourth highest graded safety, if I remember right. No, that wasn't it. What was his rank? I'm trying to think of what that fourth was. Maybe that was fourth. I know his passer rating when targeted, though, Geno Stone's was 37.9, right? Now, his fair market value as far as Spotrac is concerned is $6.5 million. And you're thinking, man, that's a lot of money. Is he a starter? I think he is a starting caliber safety. I really do. Now, another one was Alohi Gilman from the LA Chargers at $2.7 million. His passer rating when targeted was 60.3. Those are the two safeties that really piqued my interest. Both of those guys are young. You could put them on a 3-year contract, right? And that will give you a little bit of cushion in that third year. If they do flop, you can get out of that contract in the third year. But I think you can compete with that. And some people are saying, Clayton, we don't have that kind of cap room. We go through this every year. And we'll mention it again briefly. We broke down the cap the other day. And essentially what we came up with, a reasonable number that we could free up through restructures is $50.9 million. And like Drew D in chat pointed out for us, he went and looked up the number on Over the Cap. And you got a maximum restructure potential of like $85 million. Now, do I think they should free up $50 million? I don't. But I don't think it's a bad idea to free up 30. If you got these guys that you really like and your safety room is already bare, why not reset the floor in your safety room and you potentially get two starters and Bobby Wagner? If you got all three of those players at their market value, which, by the way, last year, Spotrac was freaking spot on the market value. There was a handful of players that were a little bit more than they predicted. There was a handful of players that were a little bit less, but they were right in the ballpark. So $4 million for Bobby Wagner, $6.5 million for Geno Stone, $2.5 million for Alohi Gilman. That would come to a total of roughly $10.5 million, $13 million. Of that, like we said, it'd be really, really easy to free up $30 million. So I think that would be a really, really good free agent. So we also mentioned that Darnell Savage is showing $5 million as market value. His passer rating when targeted was 109.4. He was the 73rd highest graded safety. So I just don't want to see it.
I've got a third name to throw in there while we're talking about digging in the pocketbooks a little bit.
What you got?
I still Antoine Winfield Jr., man. He's on my radar. I understand, the cap. and all the concerns. But going off of what Andy's saying, any free agent guys you want, safety makes so much sense.
That's a dream pick.
That's a dream signing for sure. I mean, yeah, that's not lost on me that's a long shot, but you got to think if Darnell Savage is not a Packer next year, a guy like Antoine Winfield, who will be, I believe, 26. I think he's 25 now. He'll be 26 next season. Kind of puts you in a good spot. Young enough, but experienced enough. He could bring some value to the safety room, I think.
Yeah, and the other thing too about Antoine Winfield that you kind of like, it sucks, is they're probably going to franchise tag him. That's why I'm trying to not get my hopes up on that one, because Tampa Bay really holds the cards there, right? All they got to do is slap a franchise tag on him, and you don't got him. If you're telling me he's going to hit the market, I'd be willing to pay him that. What was it, Tim? We talked about $18 million. Is that what it was?
Something like that. Yep.
And if you bang, there's your free safety. There's your guy playing center field. Whether you're playing shell or middle field closed, that's the guy that you want rotating to the middle of the field. He can help in the run as well. You do that and do what Magic's talking about here and get Nubin. You're going to be looking at one happy Packer fan right here. Now, we all know how this is going to play out. They're not going to sign anybody but a bunch of no-names, and we're going to be happy and like it anyway. But that is kind of the dream scenario for me and Tim. Yeah, if they don't franchise tag Winfield, I'd be okay with getting in a little bit of a bidding war there. But with that being said, those are the ones we came up with. Again, I don't want to see Darnell Savage back for anything more than $3 million, to be honest with you. The only reason he'd be worth roughly $3 million to me is he knows the system. He knows the system. He doesn't play very well in it, but he knows the system.
Well, in whatever system that's going to be, right?
Correct. Yeah. And
new DC rolling in.
Yeah, it kind of feels like it's not going to be a major change, whatever the path they go, which we're going to play a quick video here in a second, kind of an update on the coaching front as far as them looking to hire a DC. But another one we mentioned was center Connor Williams, but he's coming off an ACL. I think by the end of it, I'd talk myself out of it once we noticed the ACL mentioned there. Probably won't be back till November, especially being a big boy offensive lineman like that on those joints. It's pretty rough.
But the price point is tempting with him, right?
Yeah, $6 million. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe keep an eye on his rehab, keep one eye on the rehab, see how he's doing.
See, I don't know why Drew's got to piss me off already. He says Adrian Amos, 71.8 PFF grade last year, by the way. God almighty. Between him and Rasul Douglas, right?
Yeah.
Did Adrian Amos really? Adrian Amos Drew D, was that his PFF grade this year? Or are you talking about his last year with the Packers? Because I didn't think he played significant snaps, but I didn't follow it close either. Drew, I'd take Drew's word over mine right here.
That's what I'm thinking, right? Limited snaps, maybe a higher grade.
Yeah, I think so. I believe so. Savage is higher than that, what I said with the 73rd. That's that 109.4. That's what he's ranked. 109.4 is his passer rating when targeted, which was 73rd best in the league. The 60.3 for Alohi Gilman was 14th best in the league, and the 37.9 was 4th best in the league for Geno Stone. So that wasn't the PFF grade, although Savage's PFF grade finished somewhere around 75, but you guys know the inconsistency was really bad all year long. But let's see here. It says 2023 player grades, but I don't have access to full PFF. That should be correct then, man. Wow, I didn't realize he played that well.
How many snaps? Man, we got to look that up. What did he play? 100 snaps?
I'm going to do it right now. You're going to talk me into it. Say something smart, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, Adrian Amos was a guy that I had a lot of love for him here, his time in Green Bay. Thought it was cool that we, snagged him from Chicago, and he was one of those guys that was proud to be a Packer when he got here. He was real quick to turn in that Chicago card and be a Packer. And I thought he was a little up and down, but all around solid guy. It just didn't work out with us keeping him. But, this year with the Jets, man, I don't think he played much. Did he play a lot of football?
He didn't play a lot of football. He finished with 264 snaps, if I'm looking at this correctly. He didn't play after week 12. His grades were 54.5, 66.0, 74.3, 62.4, 60.0, 62.0, 73.5, 66.8, and 74.3. And it looks like they're showing his defensive grade. If I'm looking at it correctly here, his total defensive grade. Okay, there's the rest of the weekly history. Okay, 67.2, 60.4, 62.2, 60.0. Yeah, his stuff kind of diminished. It's weird how it was set up there, but yeah, it looks like 71.8. You're right. Run defense was 89.6.
Right. So steady Eddie, right? Not super exciting, not down in the dumps, but just a solid guy back there. So much love to Adrian Amos, man. Nothing but respect for that guy. But I don't know. Maybe if things changed or worked out a little differently, he'd still be here. But I don't know about bringing a guy like that in. Is he a free agent? Will he be a free agent right now? Was he on a 1-year deal with them?
I'm not sure. I know that the market wasn't there for him at all last year, which it was really surprising to me. I was expecting them to sign him before camp, because it's like nobody picked him up. Then all of a sudden, boom, he burst on the scene there with the Jets. But and again, some people would refer to the guy like that as a progress stopper. You want to get your young guys snaps like an Anthony Johnson Jr., which Anthony Johnson Jr. graded out really poorly. But he said 265 snaps on defense, 195 on special teams with the Jets. So that's what Drew D just said in the chat. So it's kind of cool to keep your finger on them, right? And kind of keep an eye on how they do as they part. Let's go back to the chat here real quick. We had a couple more that I wanted to hit on. Make sure I didn't miss them. Doug earlier said, I feel bad for Evero. Panthers hire a new head coach, but aren't allowing Evero to interview for other DC positions. Yeah, that's the rules that are in place, obviously. He said, technically, as Clayton has said, they can veto lateral moves, but man, that's a bad look. I agree, Doug. You're not good enough to be our head coach, but we're not going to let you look for other work. By the way, we're going to scrap everything else around you, but it's a contract, right? The coaches can't hold out. They don't have the leverage that the players have, to the best of my knowledge, right? Now, they do, from what I do understand, their contracts are guaranteed, though, and there's an offset clause that if they get a job somewhere else, then that money, the differential, they're still going to get paid that amount. So the other team pays the differential. There's some kind of really unique rule that's in place right there. But I agree. It is kind of a bad look. Like, hey, you're not good enough to be our head coach, but we're not going to let you go somewhere else. Andy says, okay, he asked about the free agents. We got that right. 2-0 for this says the cap isn't real, just like the Bears playoff hopes. And it's funny when you hear me talk about the cap 2-0 for this, people think I fall into that category of the cap is fake. I'm not one of those guys. The cap is very real. It's just very real from a time sensitive standpoint. You've got to get under that cap on schedule. If you find yourself behind the 8 ball and you can't make that up, you end up having to cut people like a Zadarius Smith, like we did a few years ago, to get under the cap because you couldn't work something out. You ran out of time, right? Now, I will say this, an important date, since we already brung it up and mentioned it. Zadarius Smith, you guys going right on schedule. I love it, man. Appreciate you guys in the chat. It's like you guys knew what I was talking about. I'm going to talk about. I was sitting there thinking, okay, if it doesn't work out with Bach, what's probably the latest that we would cut him, right? Like what's around the time frame that we may let him go? And I don't know how his contract plays into the June 1st deadline. I'm not going to dive too deep into that stuff. But as you see here, just a quick Google search on March 14th, 2022, Zadarius Smith, who would have been responsible for a $27.7 million cap hit in 2023, was released by the Packers to save $15.3 million in salary cap space. Now, it's important to mention this too, guys. First of all, the date, right? We're looking at mid-March. It might be mid-March before we see the decision on David Bakhtiari. Now, we mentioned that our boy Aaron Jones restructured his deal. It was mid-February, if I remember correctly. So we'll have our answer by then, probably. Now, they may let it run all the way up to mid-March to give Dave the maximum amount of time to make a decision if he wants to take a pay cut or not, right? And we'll see how that all plays out. But this is just a good time frame. But the other aspect of it too, remember when I just talked about give someone a 3-year deal and have it set up to where in the 3rd year you can get out from under it and free up a lot of cap. This is the perfect example. Even though Zadarius Smith had 1 more year left on his deal, he was due $27.7 million cap hit in 2023. They cut him and freed $15.3 million, over half of that cap hit. That's because that's how Goody and Russ Ball structured those deals, so that they can get out from under them if they do kind of flop or things go haywire there at the end of the contract. That's typically how they try to structure those things. So it's very important to note that. Now, back to the defensive coordinator talk, okay? On Wilde and Tausch today, they kind of got into it. You guys see my tweet. I put a tweet out there, and I tagged Wilde, I tagged Tausch. I didn't tag Tausch. I tagged Wilde, I tagged Demovsky, and I tagged Schneidman. And I just asked, hey, is there any validity to this report that Christian Parker's been offered the job? And it was crickets, right? So the whole purpose of that tweet was to say, hey, guys, I'm not asking you to confirm this, but hopefully they would confirm that they haven't heard that. That's all we were looking for.
Right.
Wildy made a little comment on his show and said, I seen where someone, and I love how he refused to mention a name, and that's okay. But he said, I seen where someone said, well, the insiders aren't talking about it, so that might mean it's true. I didn't say that must mean it's true. First of all, I'm pretty sure that's what he said. That must mean it's true. That's an inaccurate statement. I said, if the insiders are not talking about it, it means it kind of makes you think maybe there's a little smoke to that fire. Why?
Really makes you wonder a little bit.
Because it would be really easy for them to go, I haven't heard that. It doesn't mean it isn't true. You're not saying it's fake news. You're just saying, I haven't heard that, right? Yep. And listen, no one should have to answer to anyone, especially some dumb schmuck on Twitter like me. It's just, it was weird that he seemed like he got a little upset over that. And for me, it's like, for just asking you a question, it's okay. I mean, if you don't want me to ask you a question, it's totally cool. It ain't a big deal. It was just trying to get one of that confirmation, like, I haven't heard that, right? Well, he responded on his show after that little rant he went on. Talger cut him off, or else I think he was about to go in pretty hard. It's probably a good thing he did get cut off, to be honest. Anyway, this is a clip,
right?
Yeah, this is. I don't have the entire clip. This is just a clip of him talking about anything he may or may not know about Christian Parker. Okay. And again, this is from Wildy and Tausch on ESPN Radio. It's one of my favorite pods. I watch it every day. Like I watch it on their YouTube channel every single day. I think they do an excellent job. I love Mark Tauscher. I like Wildy. Wildy has really grown on me too. I think Jesse does an excellent job producing too, but here's what they had to say about Christian Parker. Again, this picks up after he made the comment about, the whole, maybe this could be true. But anyway, here's what Wildy had to say about the Christian Parker rumor.
Putting stuff out there. I don't think that they do this for a living. I think they have other jobs, and I don't know if they know people around town who are telling them this. I don't know who their sources are. I can tell you that the conversations that a number of people who do this for a living were told was that this is not what is happening right now. So I don't think that this job has been offered to anyone at this juncture. Now, look, I said this to a couple of my other insider buddies. Don't dismiss fan information out of hand, because there have been some instances where fans have gotten things right. So I always use the example of who broke the news of Patrick Mahomes' contract extension with the Chiefs.
Champagne salesman.
It wasn't Adam Schefter. It was a girl who worked at the liquor store where they came and bought a bunch of champagne to take back to the Chiefs headquarters to celebrate him getting his extension. So do not be dismissive. So I am not dismissive. That said, when I talked to a couple of people, they said, I don't know where they're getting that from. So I don't think Christian Parker may end up being their defensive coordinator.
And then this person deserves, if that happens, this person deserves
no doubt.
Boys.
Yes,
absolutely they do. And I would not withhold that from them. I'm just saying that I think maybe
Do we know who it was? Who this insider outsider was?
It was not somebody who...
Was it Derek Blakesley?
It was not, no. And he prides himself on being an outsider. And he had a weird tweet during the game.
But he wants to be an insider.
All right,
so can we take a moment to shout out Big B real quick, because he broke the Aaron Rodgers thumb issue before any. So you talk about fan inside information. Shout out to Big B. He broke that last season. That was great. So
yeah,
kind of along the same lines of what they're talking about. So you can't discount if you're connected in any way, shape, or form and have valid information. We got to look at it seriously, right?
Yeah. Drew D says he does seem mad. I probably should have played the clip before, but I don't want to put him on blast. It was just strange. It was just like taking stuff, completely changing the wording that someone says.
Yeah.
You can try to prove a point like you're a little bit like upset about it. A little bit awkward. A lot
of I do this for a living's in there too.
Yeah, that's and there was another podcaster that got absolutely roasted for that, and rightfully so. Simply, you know, with all due respect, I do this for a living. We are not the same. It's such a strange way to.
We do it for a living too. Hit us with the super chat. Click that like button. We're here.
It's like, anyway, it ain't worth it. Again, I respect Rudy. I have a lot of respect for Tauscher. Like I said, I think Jesse does a great job on that program too. I'm watching every day. I'm a big fan. It's just a weird vibe, very weird vibe. And, like Donald says, that's fair enough from Wildy. I agree. I don't think it's anything too far, out of line or anything. But Drew D says, oh, come on, Wildy. Wildy knows, just refuses to say the name. That's the part that bothers me. Like, what do we do on our show? We went out and tried to mention it was Andrew Mertig, right?
Yep.
I believe it was his name. Like, we wouldn't give him complete credit for that. Like, hey, look, he's the one. And here's the thing. I didn't just go, well, this Andrew guy's saying it. I shot him a message and said, hey, Andrew, are you okay with me talking about this on the show? Because
he stood behind it. He stood behind what he said.
Absolutely. If he just said, hold up, because I'm starting to second guess it, totally cool. But he was like, yeah, no, man. I mean, that's what I was told. So,
and even if this doesn't pan out, and even if quote unquote that's wrong, it doesn't mean that he didn't have information. It doesn't mean that, this is one of those things. Time will tell once this is confirmed. Like I said this morning, for all we know, it's going to be someone that's on none of our radars, whether you do it for a living or not. We could all be totally wrong.
Yeah, these guys, they don't do this for a living. They have normal jobs.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
Although I wish I had a nickel for every time someone asked me, what the hell do you do for a living? How do you do podcasting twice a day? And, it's just funny. Anyway. Doug Pointer said, if you can't trust your liquor salesperson, who can you trust? Amen, Doug. Like I pointed out, I'm named after a liquor store night shift manager, right? So there you go. Drew D said, yeah. So, since we don't do it for a living, buy a hoodie, people. Jeez. 2-0 for this says the liquor store is the water cooler of Wisconsin. There's a lot of truth to that. Let's see. Doug says, Wildy and Schnaben, best of Packer beat guys. Wildy was testy. I like them both too. I love Wildy's commitment to daily programming, and I like other than their game show segment or whatever. That's usually when I turn it off. But man, when they're just talking ball, God, it's so good. It's so good. And him having Bulaga on with him and other cats, if you guys aren't watching Wildy and Tausch, you're missing out. It's a great program. But Absolutely. Matt Schnaben has become my pregame ritual, if you will, when I'm getting ready to do my show at 8:00. Now he's done for the season, but the Matt Schnaben show is right here on this TV at 7:00, and this screen's muted, and I'm just tuning into him. I think Matt Schnaben does a good job of he'll dig a little bit deeper. Not that he's trying to dig to dirt or anything, but he'll give you kind of and some of the other guys are more like they're going to save it for their program, they're going to save it for their writing, and that's cool. Everybody's free to approach it how they want. But I agree. Wildy and Schnaben are two of the best, for sure, if not the two best. So.
Schneidman's pure objectivity, too. You're not getting – we know he's not a fan. So he's – correct. He's coming at that from that journalistic standpoint of I want to get to the bottom of any and every story because it's my job to cover the Packers. And he'd do the same thing if he ended up on, the Cowboys beat or whatever. So that just is a testament to him at what he does. So – when it comes to the insiders or the do this for a living crew, I like them all. I just have, my preferences, right? They're covering our team, whether or not you agree with them or their approach. I mean, even Rob Domofsky, right? We like to talk about Rob. He's been on the beat for a long time, and you got to respect that. And, one thing we get a lot of times from those quote unquote insiders is accuracy. And it's because they're taking their job seriously and they're coming at it from one angle, and that angle is journalism. And you have to respect people that do that. Yeah,
for sure. Eric Sutherland said, buy a mug, hit the thumbs up, tell Tim he's the GOAT. I like it. Let's see here. 2-0 for this actually says, should have asked if it was 65% that Parker is our DC. So there you go. I got
65%.
65%. That's what we love it. Eric Sutherland said, what's a normal job? You love to see it. Let's see here. Drew D in the chat says, what does Michael Lombardi say? There's always an agenda when info gets leaked out. It's exactly what he says, Drew. Exactly what he says. I think there's a lot of truth to that. Now,
I think if I was an insider and someone at 1265 said, hey, you don't say nothing about nothing. Don't confirm, don't deny, don't say anything.
I don't know.
Then I would play it the same way as these, it seems like these guys are playing it.
Right.
And whether or not that's the case, we don't know. But I know I would take my job seriously if I had credentials and I was told not to speak about something until it's confirmed. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna compromise my own integrity to, get the scoop or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Doug in the chat says Schneidman will say things on the show he won't write. I like that. I agree. That's a really good way to describe how he kind of runs his show for sure. Yeah, there you go. What is this? I don't know if I want to put this up for you or not, Drew D. That seemed a little. I'll leave that one back there for a minute. I'll let you read it, Tammy. If you want to put it up, you put it up. That'll be the second confirmation there with that. But let's talk a little bit about. See, we hit on the Zadarius Smith date, right? We'll come back to the chat here in a second, guys. Let's talk about some of the ball that's coming up this week, all right? Some of the football that's coming up this week. So East-West Shrine game, right? East-West Shrine game. It's ready for the 99th East-West Shrine Bowl. Witness the future NFL stars. The date is going to be February the 1st. I believe that's Thursday, if I'm looking at the calendar correctly. And it's going to be kickoff at 7 p.m. Central Time on NFL Network. Should be a good time watching some of the future players. Now, obviously, you got the Senior Bowl coming up as well. Matt Schneidman tweeted this out and said it was a Dane Brugler tweet, right? Dane Brugler said, key Senior Bowl storylines this week. You cannot bet the Bo Nix buzz will, or you can bet the Bo Nix buzz will grow, maybe into the top 10. Underrated pass rushers will be a theme. Which wide receivers shine? He went on for several others. And the reason I want to pull this tweet up is because Matt Schneidman said recent Packer draft picks who played in the Senior Bowl: Jordan Love, Devontae White, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Kingsley Enagbare, Jaden Reed, Luke Musgrave, Dontavian Wicks, and Carl Brooks. Worth a look at Dane's coverage from Mobile this week if you're a Packers fan. So big names there, Tim. My gosh, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Really, you could say 7 starters on the Packers played in the Senior Bowl in the last 2 years. Not the last 2 years. Jordan Love was several years ago, but you get what I'm saying. So a lot of big names there, Tim. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some people kind of crawl under a rock or live in a hole around this time of year. I don't. I love this time of year. We get stuff like this, and I don't know. It's still exciting, man. Football is 365, man. Every day there's something to talk about and something to look at. And like SDN 40 here says, Packers love their Senior Bowl guys. I don't think that's the secret.
Yeah,
we can see this right here for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Doug, going back to the Wildy stuff, said, Donald, to be fair, Wildy is the main target for Matt LaFleur bullets and pressers. I get the frostiness of the comment. It gets pretty funny there. Yeah, do that, Drew. Shoot me a message, buddy. I didn't know if you wanted that aired out on the podcast. I know you put it in the chat for a reason, but yeah, appreciate you, pal. Let's see here. You already got Jake Shavink coming in with some good information here on the Senior Bowl. He says, I hope I'm saying this right, Kitten Oladipo and Cam Kinchins at safety. You guys have heard us talk about Kinchins, right? Many people have him as a top safety in the draft. I personally, as my board sets right now, I like Newbin better, but I am definitely in the minority with that. Kenyon Mitchell, Max Melton, Kyrie Jackson at corner in the Senior Bowl. So that'd be really, really fun to kind of see how that plays out all week long. Let's see here. Mike Hebring says watching Senior Bowl practices is life. It's funny you mentioned that because we've actually got the schedule right here for you, Mike. Bowl practices this week, okay? This is how it sets up. You've got it's going to be at Hancock Whitney Stadium, obviously. Tuesday, which is tomorrow, if you guys are watching live with us. If you're listening on the pod, this may go live tomorrow, which we're going to start trying to get the content out quicker for you guys. If everything goes as planned, as soon as we wrap up the morning show and the evening show, we're going to go ahead and make it go live on the podcast. So you're not having to wait till the next day to get the content. We actually had a listener message us and ask about it, and I ran it by Ryan, and he was okay with it. So tomorrow, Tuesday, 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. I'm assuming, I don't know what they don't give a time. Jake, if you can confirm that for us in here, man.
Yeah.
Is that Central or Eastern time there? Because
and what network is this? NFL Network, or is this who's televising any of these, if anything?
Great question. I know that the East-West Shrine game was going to be televised by NFL Network. As far as the practices for the Senior Bowl, I'm not sure. It's saying NFL Network. I bet they'll have around-the-clock coverage of the practices. It seems like they always do. So I would say, if I had to guess him, I would say it's NFL Network for sure.
Probably on a loop or something. So even if you miss it, you can probably catch another one.
Probably so. But I'm assuming with this being in Alabama, it's probably Eastern time. So just so you guys know, set your clocks accordingly.
Oh, wait, we got Jake in the chat.
What he said.
Mobile, Alabama,
okay, so it is
Central time. Okay.
Got it. So these are Central time. These are Lambeau times right here. 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. The national team will be practicing. And then from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., the American team will be practicing. Then on Wednesday, same time, you'll have 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Central Time, national team practicing. 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Central Time, the American team practicing. And then on Thursday, same exact thing, 9:30 to 11:30 national, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central will be the American team practicing. So you're going to have 3 straight days of coverage of practice from the Reese Senior Bowl. So that'll be a lot of fun to kind of get a glimpse at these guys. And if you really know who to follow, my big one is Daniel Jeremiah. And I know many people that I've talked to like Dane Brugler. I'm sure he does a great job too. But I love Daniel Jeremiah's updates that he typically tweets. Him and Bucky Brooks. I know they were just on NFL Network earlier. They're down there. So they might have been at the Shrine game. At least Bucky Brooks was. But if you follow those two guys, Bucky Brooks and Daniel Jeremiah on Twitter, you'll stay up to date for sure. And I'll tell you another one you want to follow, Jake Shavink. Go find Jake Shavink on Twitter. Jake, put in the comments your Twitter handle, buddy. I don't know how the hell you don't have more followers, bro. It blows my mind. But you should have way more than me. I'm a knucklehead. You guys make sure you follow him. He'll be tweeting out stuff too, I'm sure. He's always got gems that he tweets out. So
set your notifications for his tweets for sure.
Definitely. Now, as far as the Senior Bowl itself, it says the Reese Senior Bowl is widely regarded as the preeminent college football all-star game and the first stage in the NFL draft process. The longest continual running all-star game has taken place in Mobile, Alabama. The past 74 years, more than 900 NFL personnel, including key decision makers from all 32 teams and over 1,100 media members from around the country, were credentialed this year. This past April, the game produced 100 total picks for the third straight year, representing 40% of the entire NFL draft, including 40 selected on the first 2 days. So you're getting 40 basically first/second round prospects that are going to be playing most likely, and 100 total picks for the third straight year. That's absolutely wild. Again, that's going to be on Saturday. Kickoff is 12 p.m. Central Time, Saturday, February the 3rd, 2024, down there in Mobile, Alabama. And it's going to be at the University of South Alabama, Hancock Whitney Stadium. On TV, you can catch it on NFL Network. And then obviously, if you want to attend it, they said the tickets are on sale for that too. So they may already be sold out by the time you hear this, but I'm not sure. Pretty exciting stuff, though, Tim. You get a chance to see some of the future of the NFL and what they can kind of bring to the table. And again, what I like, I'm not the one that just sits and watches the whole practice. I'm sure Jake does. I'm sure he's sitting there rewinding it like I do, watching a live football game, going back and what formation were they in? What technique was he in? What was the guy doing on the sidelines? Ooh, that ref got taken out. The whole thing takes me forever to watch a ball game. I'm usually fast forwarding by the end to try to get caught up. But what I like to do is follow the tweets, like I said, with people like Daniel Jeremiah, guys like that, because they're giving you the updates. So-and-so absolutely dominated this matchup in practice, right? Those little things. You can make notes for your draft boards, all that good stuff. So, yeah, Jake Shavink said his Twitter handle is @JakeNFLDraft. So it's @JAKE, capital N, capital F, capital L, capital D, RAFT, no spaces, no symbols, nothing like that, at Jake NFL Draft. Make sure you guys go give him a follow. Going to be really, really cool getting his coverage of Senior Bowl or of the Reese Senior Bowl, as well as the East-West Shrine game, all that good stuff too. Put in the chat there, Jake. What's the difference between the two? I was having a hard time kind of differentiating. Like, what's the difference between the East-West Shrine game and the Senior Bowl? Obviously, the Senior Bowl, they're all seniors, goes without saying. But the East-West Shrine game, is it kind of like those same players that the guys that are like maybe juniors that are looking to come out and they're getting a chance to showcase their skills for scouts at the same time? Let me know that. I was trying to figure out exactly how that plays out. I don't know what the credentials are. So, yeah, like Mike Hebring pointed out, Senior Bowl will be on NFL Network. We got Carly in here with us now. Carly, how you doing this season?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys?
Doing good. We're just geeking out over a little bit of Senior Bowl and East-West Shrine Week, so it's going to be fun, right?
You know what? I don't really have a clue what those are. So cool.
They're essentially all-star games for the college football players who are looking to enter the draft.
Okay.
So, yeah. Let's see. Jake Shavink says, what's even more confusing now is that juniors can participate in either one. Yeah, that really doesn't help, does it, Jake? So the Senior Bowl isn't actually the Senior Bowl anymore. Evidently, it's the Senior Bowl that juniors are allowed to participate. So there you go. But
it's like senior prom, it's like that senior prom, but then half the people there were underclassmen because couldn't get dates with people their own age.
Yeah, and then you had eighth graders like me sneaking into the prom and drinking under the bleachers in the gymnasium and all that good stuff as a young hoodlum. So tell you what, God's grace is efficient. I'll just say that. All right, it is.
Amen. Amen.
There's no doubt. Yeah, get AA out of here. That's just weird. Let's go ahead and block that cat. There will be absolutely no Tom Grossi slander in here. I'll just go ahead and say that. Okay. So. What the hell's going on out here? Sorry, buddy. I don't care if you were joking. You're not gonna dog Tom Grossi in here.
Roadhouse.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Clayton, you just lost a subscriber. Ask me if I care. Eric Sutherland says, so the Senior Bowl is like women's swimming, but dudes can compete. Oh, Lord. I knew it. Why do I do this to myself with Eric Sutherland? I'm about to put you in timeout, man. Yeah. Anyway, so normally what we do is, we've been big on the consensus big board, right? I am not much on mock drafts, as you guys can already tell. I have people going, do another mock draft tonight. I'm not real big on it. We'll do plenty, trust me. But I'm big on the big board because it's ranking the prospects. That's what I care more about, is the ranking the prospects. But we are going to walk through the consensus mock draft, okay? So this right here is on the Consensus Big Board website. If you Google Consensus Big Board or you go to NFL Mock Draft Database, you'll be able to find this website. It's absolutely phenomenal. They do a great job of taking a multitude of media personalities. Some people well-respected, others maybe not, but they put all this information in one database, and it gives you kind of an average on the Consensus Big Board. The Consensus Big Board is one tiny element of my finished product, of my big board, that you guys will see by the time we go live for our draft coverage. But this right here, though, is a consensus mock draft. So it takes everyone's mock drafts, puts it in the database, and it shows you what percentage these players were taken, where they were taken. Does that make sense, Tim?
Yeah.
So, all right. So here is what it looks like. All right. Let's just kind of roll through it, and I'll get your opinion on it as we go. Chat, I want to get your all's opinion too. So here we go. Caleb Williams, number 1, 83% mock draft popularity. Okay. 83% of the mock drafts have Caleb Williams going number 1 to the Chicago Bears. Number 2, 72% of the mock draft database has Drake May, quarterback from North Carolina, going to the Washington Commanders. All right, so still a pretty big number there. Quarterback Jaden Daniels has now climbed to the number 3 spot. They're predicting that the New England Patriots will take Jaden Daniels. I love Jaden Daniels. Me and Jake have had all kinds of conversations about Jaden Daniels. The big thing about Jaden Daniels that I think people are going to learn here real quick is his football IQ. When they start having him in for the interviewing process at the combine and stuff, and probably Jaden Daniels, if you want to put a plug in there in the chat, Jake, where Jaden Daniels fits into these all-star games. But I'm hearing that he is going to absolutely rock NFL scouts with his football knowledge. So this doesn't surprise me that the consensus mock draft database has him going number 3 to the New England Patriots. And what a better way to kind of kick off a new era in New England than to take a quarterback right off the bat, right? And he's a guy who's a dual threat, but absolutely, deadly accurate as a quarterback, very smart player, seems to protect the football well, all that stuff. But those top 3 picks, Tim, Carly, you got any comment, questions on those top 3 picks? We got 3 quarterbacks going right off the bat.
That doesn't surprise me in a quarterback-heavy draft. This may very well end up being your first 4 picks of the draft. If anything's going to keep Marvin Harrison Jr. out of the top 3, it's going to be one of these quarterbacks. And you got to think about best available, but also needs. Clearly, the Bears, the what are they called? The Washington football, the Commanders, and and the Patriots all clearly need a quarterback. So, I could see the first 3 picks being QBs for sure. And again, I'm not remotely close to being a draft expert at all. But this looks pretty accurate. And who knows? Maybe my prediction will come true that the Bears will take Caleb Williams and ruin him in 2 or 3 seasons like they do with quarterbacks.
History suggests that'll happen. Carly, you got anything to add to this?
So this is revealing how little I know of the mechanics of how the draft really works. But I had heard rumors that Caleb Williams was going to refuse to go to the Bears or something like that. Can they do that? Can you kind of explain what that was about?
It's America. You can do whatever you want.
He's a Packers fan too.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't believe me? Just see how I rooted for Joe Barry this year. You would think that I wasn't allowed to do that. With Caleb, though, there were rumors coming out. And Jake, if you want to mention in the chat whether there was any validity to this or if I'm completely off base, I believe they were fake rumors that Caleb Williams was basically saying he would not enter the draft unless the Bears basically agreed that they wouldn't draft him, essentially.
Wow.
Something like that. Now, I don't think it was true, but I could be wrong.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that is true.
The Bears still suck.
Big facts right there, Tim. I think there was a tweet that Caleb Williams did like where it was someone saying they shouldn't draft him, and he liked that tweet, though. So
I've seen a lot of Go Pack Go tweets on his timeline, too.
Yeah, here we go. We might have us an answer here. Jake said there was a troll tweeter out there with a blue check mark that said that, but no one in draft media with credibility has said anything about it. Got it. So it's probably not true. Caleb Williams is probably going to be a Chicago Bear this year, but with there being 3 quarterbacks at the top of the list, they're going to have their pick of the litter, right? So it's going to be interesting to see who they deem as the best quarterback. I know. Let's see. Jake said something else in here. Let me hit on it real quick. He says Daniels, talking about Jaden Daniels equals electricity. That's a great description, in my opinion, of what I've seen with Jaden Daniels this year at LSU. Now, when he goes into these interviews, and if he does what I'm hearing he's going to do, and absolutely blows their mind when it comes to the football intellect, kind of like on the Bryce Young level. That was the thing that soared him to the top, was his football IQ was crazy. Imagine that. I mean, that dude, he's liable to go number 1, honestly. Like, we don't know. There's to me, the most important aspect of the combine, in my opinion, are the interviews. That's a chance for them. The interviews and the background checks are the big things for me. I don't think that there's much that happens at the combine that makes a team go, you know what? He looked absolutely perfect on tape, but I don't like the way he did that shuttle. I don't think it's that. Now, I think the interviewing process in combination with something like that, I could be wrong, but that's just kind of how I see it. So, yeah, he's going to be something else. Jake said, I wish Daniels was going to be in Mobile, but I'm excited to see how he handles the process. So it sounds like he's not going to be in Mobile, and I don't blame him one bit. Go out there and risk getting hurt, that type of thing. Paul Robertson said Eric's big board is written in crayon. That might be the line of the night. Doug Pointer says my advisor at the liquor store said the Bears will trade out of the first pick. Got good sources down there. Doug Pointer said I just spent a week in Chicago last week. I wouldn't go there either. So there you go.
Playoffs?
Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding?
Let's see here. Watch the Bears. 2 over this is watch the Bears take McCarthy. I would be. Oh my God, you talking about throwing a wrench into everything? I don't see.
Let them take Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, hey, to me that'd probably be the best move. But I don't know. You are looking for a franchise quarterback there, right? So it is what it is. I know some Bears fans will still disagree and say that Justin Fields is the guy. But so there's your projected top 4 picks, with Arizona taking Marvin Harrison Jr. there at number 4. Let's slide down to the next 4, okay, real quick here. And just I apologize for the ads. There's nothing I can really do about it but close them out. The LA Chargers at number 5, Brock Bowers, tight end out of Georgia, absolute stud. You guys know on my draft board, he's in my top tier. He's just going to be, I think he's going to be an amazing pro. You guys have watched him at Georgia. Some would suggest he was the best tight end in football last year when he couldn't come out or chose not to come out. I'm not sure exactly how he fell into those limitations or whatever. But mock draft popularity, 47% think he's going to the Chargers. Okay. Number 6, Malik Neighbors, wide receiver, LSU. That was Jaden Daniels, his number 1 target. 56% of the mock draft popularity say he's going to the New York Football Giants. Number 7, offensive tackle from Notre Dame, Joe Alt, going to the Tennessee Titans. 42% of the mock draft popularity there. Number 8, Dallas Turner, edge defender from Alabama. 45% of the mock draft popularity says he's going to Atlanta. Number 9, the Bears are back on the clock. They're saying Rome Odunze, I think is how you say his name, wide receiver out of Washington. 23% mock draft popularity there. And then at number 10, you got the New York Jets with, I can't say the first name, but it's Fashanu, offensive tackle from Penn State. Absolute stud at offensive tackle, 28% mock draft popularity. Number 11, Minnesota Vikings, Jared Verse from Florida State. He's an edge defender, 23% mock draft popularity. Number 12, Bo Nix, quarterback from Oregon, 19% popularity, going to the Denver Broncos there. Number 13 with the Las Vegas Raiders, quarterback J.J. McCarthy going number 13, 17% mock draft popularity. So that's how many quarterbacks now? 1, 2, I think that's 5 now. Yeah, 5 quarterbacks in the top, what is that, top 13 picks. That is absolutely wild. Number 14 to the Saints, you got Fuaga, offensive tackle from Oregon State, 13% popularity there. Number 15, the Indianapolis Colts select Nate Wiggins, cornerback out of Clemson, 19% popularity there. 16% Jerzan Newton, defensive lineman, hands down the best defensive lineman in this draft from what I've seen. Popularity 23% for him going to the Seattle Seahawks. A little bit higher than the previous, 5 picks surrounding him there. So people feel really good about him going to Seattle if he's on the board. Number 17, Cooper DeJean, cornerback out of Iowa, 16% mock draft popularity. I know many Packer fans went, what the crap, because they want him at 25. They're projecting he's going to be gone by 17. This is early, though. A lot of things can change.
And Goody's got a gang of draft picks.
He sure does. He could trade up.
For a trade up.
Everybody's wanting Cooper DeJean other than me, I believe. I think it's awesome. It's not that I don't want him. I'm just not as in love with him like other people, I guess you could say. Number 18, Cincinnati Bengals, offensive tackle J.C. Latham. You know, you want to get your boy Burrow healthy and give him another offensive tackle to protect him. Him coming out of Alabama there. 23% mock draft popularity to the Bengals. Number 19, probably the coolest name in the draft, Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama, cornerback. 10% mock draft popularity going to the L.A. Rams. Number 20, Amarius Mims, offensive tackle from Georgia, going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. 17% popularity. Number 21, you've got Troy Fontana, offensive tackle out of Washington, 20% mock draft popularity. Looks like this finally froze on me here. We may have to load it back up right before we get to the Packers, of course. Let me read these off. We may have to load it back. That's hilarious. So 20% popularity going to the Dolphins there. 22, Terrion Arnold, cornerback from Alabama, going to the Eagles at 22, 16% popularity. 23, the Houston Texans, Dominion, I think I'm saying it right, Robinson, Penn State, edge defender, 10% popularity there. And then you got Tyler Guyton, 13% popularity going to the Dallas Cowboys at number 24. All right, we're back. So now we get to the Packers pick. All right, and that was an
That's
offensive tackle.
Clayton. It froze on you. Goody's trading up.
That's what it was. Hey, hold up, big boy.
We ain't picking at 25.
Exactly. So at 25, the mock draft database, right? 10% popularity. It's kind of low, to be honest with you, but 10% of them say Graham Barton, interior offensive lineman from Duke. Man, I would be okay with shoring up right guard if he's an absolute stud. Sometimes, I mean, if I remember correctly, Tim, that's the best interior offensive lineman, right? That's the first one taken here. There was no other interior offensive lineman, so that would be the top one. Jake, if you're still in the chat, tell us what you think about Graham Barton. What do you know about him out of Duke? And it won't, there's nothing really to click on here. I'll see if I can pull him up here in a second. As a matter of fact, we'll just back up real quick and we will go to the consensus big board if it'll let me. Let me close that out and we'll come back in. Give me just a second, gang. So we close that out. I'm going to go right back to it because I'd like to see what they think about him for sure. There you go. Read it off, Tim, as I pull that back up.
Jake's just jumped in here. Graham Barton played every O-line position at Duke. So he's
Zach Tom 2.0, baby.
Yeah. You talk about we're not talking a swing tackle. We're talking about, the definition of an offensive lineman. Literally can play across the line. Now, of course, translating that to the NFL can be a different story, and there'll be a learning curve. But if he's got that versatility built in, certainly is an asset here in Green Bay with our offensive line. So,
oh yeah, no doubt about it, man. No doubt. Let's see what we got here. He's definitely, obviously, he's the 28th best prospect. He's the top interior offensive lineman. Like I said, he's going to be playing in the Senior Bowl. You see the logo, man. I tell you, mock draft the NFL mock draft database.com does an excellent job. You see all these Reese's signs, right? Making me hungry. Well, I'm a Reese cup nut too, just so you guys know. I know y'all are interested in that information, but all these guys are going to be playing in the Reese Senior Bowl. So look for Graham Barton updates this week, right? He's the 28th best prospect. He peaked at 19. That means he got as high as 19 on the consensus big board there. Now, when we click on him, let's see if it has anything here. Projected first round, overall rank 28th, best rank was 19th. First round percentage, he was mocked in the first round 52.8% of the time. His consensus was 25th. Okay. And you can kind of see his chart where he peaked. It looks like around October 6th, he had his highest stock and he's kind of dropped since then, raised back up. You can see how you could kind of follow it throughout the entire 2023 season. I love how they do that too. So he kind of settled in there toward the end of the season. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to close that out. And before we wrap the show up, we're at the 57-minute mark. I'm going to try to pull up his PFF college grade. You go ahead though and keep going, Tim, with the chat.
Let's Jake just checked in again. His quicks, agility, balance, strength, very good. He has the perfect game to be a great pass pro guy at guard or center, which obviously means he'll fit in well here in Green Bay. Lack of arm length is why he gets kicked inside. So, that's not much a guy can do about his the length of his arms, I guess. So, that's one of the things you got to just develop through or play around. But could be a good pick for us if we do, in fact, stay at 25 and he's still on the board for sure. Yeah,
definitely, man. Definitely. So when I pull it up on PFF here, according to their college grades, last year he graded out a 75.9, not bad. They're showing him as the 47th best tackle. Okay. Now that's just PFF grade. Of course, that's not the only thing that matters. When you click on his profile here, his offensive grade was 75.9, pass blocking grade 78.2, run blocking grade 71.2, status is A. It looks like if you go back to last year, Tim, what did we talk about, man? I'm going to share the screen on here just so you guys can see this. This is great stuff right here. Remember last year when we talked about, I told y'all I would never make this mistake again. I said Jaden Reed snuck up on me. Y'all remember me talking about that?
Yep.
Reason being he had kind of a down year in 2022. And then you go back and watch 2021, and it was like, holy cow, he lit it up in 2021. Look at his year-by-year grade here as far as Graham Barton there out of tackle out of Duke. Like I said, 6'5", 314 senior. 75.9 this year, right? Look at last year's grade right here, guys. Yep. 88.2 last year. So,
I mean, you're seeing progress. I mean, call it what you want. Just looking at these grades and metrics, that's progress.
Yeah, 61.9 in 2020, 73.1 in 2021, 2022, 88.2, and then dipped back to 75.9 in 2023. But, man, that right there just screams a Goody pick, taking someone that might fall to him that, like, hey, if he'd have came out last year, he probably would have been a top 10 pick, right? If he could have. I don't know if he could have or not. I'm sure he could have. But
certainly a guy that could compete for snaps at center and right guard at the very least.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Can I ask a question about those grades?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are those college grades, like, how do they compare to NFL grades? Is it still kind of the same scale? If you put them side by side, would you expect to see a drop, or is it easier to get a higher grade in college?
Yeah, so it's the same exact grading style, Carly, but what you got to take into consideration, they're playing against college talent, right? So you expect it to drop. You'll hear me say throughout the season, if a rookie grades out in the 60s in the NFL, I feel like that's a good grade for a rookie. To me, that's a pretty good, like, okay, if you're grading out in the 60s consistently, that's a pretty good indication that he's going to be a good pro, in my opinion. At least I've seen it across the league. It hasn't worked out as well for some players like Eric Stokes. He graded out in the 60s his rookie year, took a step back in year 2, took another step back in year 3. But like, Jair was one, if I remember correctly, his rookie year. I think he graded out in the 60s, I believe, and then he just skyrocketed after that. So if you grade out in the 60s, that's what's getting me really hype about Lucas Van Ness. He was kind of hovering right there in the 60s, right? So I think he's showing all the signs he's going to be a good prospect. So you can't compare those grades to the NFL grades if that's what you're asking, because you're expecting these young players to take a drop off. Now, you guys know last year, hands down, my best prospect in the draft was Jalen Carter, right? Defensive lineman that went to the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know where he finished on the year. I should probably try to pull that up real quick. But most of the year, he was grading out in the 90s. So he was like, it translated right over, Carly. I mean, right over for Jalen Carter. Now, again, he may not have finished the year as strong. I'm going to go out real quick and see if I can find that, because I would like to know just for my own selfish reason here. But let me type it in real quick, Carter, and see exactly where he finished. Jalen Carter, because he was a stud early on. I mean, it was hard to keep him out of the starting lineup there in Philadelphia, and with a team that had just a solid defensive line anyway. Yeah, so looking at his grade from 2023, Jalen Carter finished 89.0 as a rookie. His pass rush grade, 85.9. His run defense grade, it's another good example, 68.4. That's good for a rookie, right? But overall grade, that's a player that just absolutely lit it up, right? Now, here's the other thing too. He had problems off the field. That's why he dropped when he did. You guys remember Drew Rosenhaus? I believe it was Drew Rosenhaus was his agent. There were teams wanting to interview him outside of the top 10. And he said, no. He said, my client's not going to make it out of the top 10. I've already got confirmation. I'm not going to put him through the shit of having an interview with you guys, right? And ask him the same questions over and over and over. Lo and behold, Philly took him, I think, at number 9. It might have been 10, but maybe number 9. So, yeah. He's one of those players just absolutely lit it up. So,
what was some of the things you saw that, like, what did you see where you saw that and you were like, oh, that guy, he's great?
He looked like a man playing with kids out there. Like, he was tossing college players around. He was, and it's funny, we just mentioned it earlier, saying that if someone had came out, the year before, he probably would have been the best player, in the draft or at his position. Jalen Carter, hands down, when people were watching the defensive line tape, Greg Cosell is one that said this. He said, when I went and watched, he was actually breaking down Jordan Davis. Do you know who Jordan Davis is, Carly?
No, I don't.
Okay. Jordan Davis was the defensive tackle for the Georgia Bulldogs the year before. Okay. So he was coming out in the draft in 2021. Guess who drafted him? Philadelphia Eagles. So the Philadelphia Eagles drafted him. And I remember specifically hearing Greg Cosell, the civilian GOAT, as Ross Tucker calls him, saying that, yeah, when I went back and watched, when it came time for Jalen Carter last year and they were talking about him, he said, yeah, when I was actually watching the Georgia tape on Jordan Davis and Devontae Wyatt, he said, hands down, Jalen Carter was the best player on the field. He was better than those 2 first-round picks the year before. And then when you turn on the tape, and I'm sure Jake will attest to it, he was just, I mean, it's so rare that you see a defensive lineman, even at the college level, just throw guys around. He was an absolute man bear. But again, had some personal issues coming out of college, so some people were a little bit hesitant on taking him that high, and rightfully so. You know, you waste a pick on someone and they're a knucklehead, that's a, you know, whole different ball game. You know, it's like Johnny Manziel, right? Johnny Manziel looked just absolutely amazing in college. And all the warning signs were there for Johnny Manziel that he was just going to be nothing but a trouble if you drafted him. Lo and behold, he's out of the league in just a few years, right? So, yeah. That answer your question, Carla?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Sometimes the eye test is easy, you know. They go back and watch Reggie White tape, and I'm not trying to say Jalen Carter is Reggie White. I'm not trying to say it at all, but similar in the difference of level of competition, right? Level of skill. When you watch Reggie in the NFL, it looked like he was just a freaking lion just playing with his food, right? Those hump moves, just throwing people all over that's what you see with Jalen Carter, his last year there in college for sure. So our Showers is after my heart right here. He says, I'd like to see us trade down from 25 for the Eagles 50 and 53. We aren't likely to choose a premium position at 25, so I'd like another bite at the apple if they do it. I am 99% of the time, I am team trade back. You guys know I'm the most boring football fan on the face of the earth. I'm like, give me multiple shots in the next round rather than just one shot in this round. It's all going to come.
That's what she said.
Of course, it's all going to come down to how their board falls, right? And do they have a trade partner? Everybody thinks this is Madden, where it's just, all right, let me go see what trades. Let me pause the draft and go make a trade real quick.
That's the best, right? You're on the clock, but you can pause it.
Yeah. These trades are already put in place in some cases weeks before, right? They already have tested it like, hey, if we are looking to trade back here, we'll probably be looking to get right back. You know, like say you get the 25th pick and you want to trade back to, say, if you look at your board and go, you know what, I don't like our chances of getting a current top tier of talent at the 25th pick, but I do like it at, say, 32, then they'll reach out to like 30, 31, and 32 and say, hey, if we are willing to trade back, what would you be willing to give us? And if they go, oh, yeah, we definitely looking to go up, because they might have a position of need and the board fall a little bit different for them, that they'll go, okay, yeah, we'll give you, you know, let's say we'll give you a third this year and a fourth next year and our, you know, whatever it is, 32nd pick, right? And if they agree to it, they go, yeah, that sounds good. Let's be ready to pull that trigger if everything plays out just right. So when that call comes in, you're on the clock 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever the clock is now. I don't even know what the rules are now. But that call comes in, hey, man, you still good for that trade? Yeah, absolutely we are. Our guy's still there. All right, call it in. That's how those trades take place. The structure is always already in place, a week, 2 weeks in advance. It's not just I don't like how this is sitting. Let's call all the GMs real quick and see what they think if they'd like to trade. There might be a little bit of that last second stuff, but for the most part, those trades are already put in place. So, yeah, there you go. Anything else you guys want to hit on? We're at 1 hour and 7 minutes. This flew by, man. This was a lot of fun.
No, I figured we cover a lot of information. Shout out to Jake in the chat for chiming in. That's great information for sure. And, it's coming. The draft's going to be here before you know it, guys. I mean, we're already talking about spring football and, Senior Bowl. And, we're going to have owners meeting soon before you know it, right? We got this little lull before the Super Bowl. Not really. I don't know. I guess what do we call this? Dodgeball week? Is this dodgeball games, whatever the Pro Bowl is? They jump on trampolines and play tag or whatever they do now. But certainly heading towards some meaningful decisions about to be made here that's going to definitely affect the 2024 NFL season. So I'm all eyes and all ears.
Yeah. Paul Robertson makes a good point here. He says, our Showers, if you do that, though, you lose out on the fifth-year option on a player. I'm not a big fan of the fifth-year option. If you've got a guy, extend him, right? Because when you do the fifth-year option, it makes things a little more difficult. It's just essentially like a mini franchise tag, right? A cheaper franchise tag. I would much rather, okay, he's our guy, let's extend him so you've got the flexibility of the duration of that new contract to move that cap around, rather than just kind of hemming yourself up with one hit, which I know with Darnell Savage, we tacked on voidable years and just spread it out. that was a thing that I came to the realization of this year, that you're actually allowed to do that. But I would much rather them extend them. I'm not a big 5th-year option guy. I wouldn't approach it that way, but I know this. NFL GMs completely agree with you because they love that 5th-year option. I mean, Darnell Savage, I tell you a decision we got to make. I believe it's this year, this offseason. We got to make a decision on Eric Stokes if we're picking up his 5th-year option. I personally hope they pass on it, but we'll see how that plays out too. So, Carly, you got anything else?
I just that cornerback named Kool-Aid. I just think he'd probably get along real well with Jair.
It sounds like it does.
Take it out.
I'd say Kool-Aid McKinstry.
That's
I
awesome.
love it. Some of these names are great, man, for sure. So, all right, let's get out of here. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. This was a lot of fun. We will be back in the morning for. Is there any other chats you wanted to hit on, Tim? I know you had some marked. Are we good, buddy? You feel good?
Yeah, I'm kind of scrolling right now. No, I think we're good. Other than another classic from Paul Robertson.
See, he says AFAM tested off the charts. Never mind. Wow. I don't know why y'all do this to me. All right, we're out of here. We will be back in the morning for Good Morning Lambeau. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. If you guys would, make sure you hit that like button for us. I know we had a herd of people in here tonight. It'll help boost the algorithm so other Packer fans can find this content, find this channel. Channel's blowing up. We're on our way to 3,000 subscribers now, which is absolutely awesome. Twitter's on fire, too. We're connecting with a lot of cool people there. We're going to have some good guests coming up this year, too. I'm excited about that. So we'll have some regular guests on. I'm going to try to reach out to Paul Brettel, see if we can get him back on a regular basis here in the offseason, too. I was trying not to bug him for a couple of weeks, so I'll reach out and see if he'd like to come on for a weekly spot and just tell us what's on his mind as far as, building the roster out here in the offseason. So thank you guys so much. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack Go.
The power sweep. Actually, it's the lead play in our offense. We ask our YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet. Get an isolation with the linebacker. Become a tackle. Take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.